Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. Guys, we're taking a look today at the Chicago Blackhawks of the Windy City, and we're hearing some rumors there may be some defensive changes here to the Chicago Blackhawks. Could we see a Duncan Keith trade to the Edmonton Oilers? Maybe they bring in a guy like Caleb Jones, and if they bring in Jones, could they maybe bring in Columbus Blue Jackets, Seth Jones? We'll be taking a look at those rumors in this video. So according to David Staples the other day, he suggests that Caleb Jones could be a piece going to the Chicago Blackhawks in a trade involving Duncan Keith. Now, this is very interesting because if you're looking at the conspiracy theorists' mindset here, basically the idea is you bring in Caleb Jones. Okay, well, first of all, you got to find a team that's willing to take Duncan Keith. And it seems like the Edmonton Oilers are willing to do that. Now, I'm not really sure how this gets done. There's going to be multiple assets dealt in this trade. The Oilers do have a little bit of cap space. If they decide that they're going to move on from Tyson Barrie, maybe they go with Duncan Keith, right? But you're also looking at the mindset that you will trade a guy like Caleb Jones and potentially more. You're probably going to have to give up more. But the key here for the Blackhawks side of things is if they pick, okay, so they move out Keith's salary. They bring in Caleb Jones. You're gaining salary. You're getting a younger defenseman. And let's be honest, if you've got Seth Jones, the brother of Caleb Jones, maybe you entice Seth Jones to maybe want to stick around in Chicago if his brother's there. We saw this a couple years back in Arizona, where the Coyotes actually took, Oliver Ekman-Larsson's brother, and had him in the AHL system, so that way he would stick around. And look how that worked out. He's sticking around, at least for now. So I think that's very interesting that this is the mindset that we're seeing Stan Bowman and the Blackhawks have. And I don't think it's out of the question crazy. I don't think this is really a crazy thought. It does make some sense. We've seen it done before. And to be honest, we'll probably see it done again and again and again before the end of time. So I think this is interesting because you look at Duncan Keith, right? Duncan Keith goes to the Oilers for Caleb Jones, and let's just say a third-round pick. Caleb Jones and a third-round pick for Duncan Keith, right? Pretty good trade for the Blackhawks because they're able to move out the salary and they bring in Caleb Jones and a draft pick. But this is also a good trade for the Oilers because they bring a future Hall of Fame defenseman in Duncan Keith, who has wanted out of Chicago now for a little while, especially with everything going on with his family, with his child. And then this also works out because now you bring in Caleb Jones, who could help you bring in Seth Jones. Now, the problem here for the Blackhawks is they want a sign-and trade here for Seth Jones. They're a rebuilding team. They aren't just going to take Seth Jones and just hope that he re-signs next summer. No. That's not going to happen. The Blackhawks are going to, if they are going to acquire Seth Jones, they're going to have ink, pen to paper, that deal sealed up. If they are going to trade potentially a guy like former top 3 draft pick Adam Boqvist, which would go the other way to Columbus. And this would really help reinvigorate that blue line there for the Columbus Blue Jackets. In the event that they lose a guy like Seth Jones, at least you bring in a young guy like Adam Boqvist, a former 3rd overall draft pick. He'd probably be a nice addition back into the Blue Jackets pipeline on the blue line. So the question here is, does this make sense? Now, Duncan Keith has a salary right now of $5.5 million per season till the summer of 2024, so that's still a couple of years away. And Seth Jones at $5.4 million until next summer. You kind of wonder what's going to happen there in the summer of 2022. So Seth Jones here, this makes sense. So let's look at it this way. So the Blackhawks, at the end of the day, would be moving out Duncan Keith and Adam Boqvist in exchange for Caleb Jones and Seth Jones. Is that a fair trade-off? Is that worth it for the Blackhawks? Because obviously what they've been doing hasn't been working. I don't like the idea of trading Adam Boqvist, if I'm going to be honest. I like Seth Jones. I think he's a good defenseman. But there's a reason that the Blue Jackets would be interested in this. Because, like I said, former 3rd overall draft pick, mobile defenseman, he's young. This is the kind of guy that you want on a team that you're building for the future. And the Blackhawks aren't necessarily a winning franchise yet. So to go out, get Seth Jones, and to get a guy like Caleb Jones, it could work out. It may not. And that's something you have to consider. You look at it this way. What if the Blackhawks move out, right? Let's say they move out Duncan Keith. They keep Adam Boqvist. Now, what if you replace Duncan Keith with just adding a guy like Dougie Hamilton in free agency? Now, the problem is you get into murky waters because you don't know if Dougie Hamilton's going to re-sign with Carolina. You don't know if he's going to go to Seattle. You don't know what's going to happen with Dougie Hamilton. So now you're kind of playing into the hands of free agency. And that can be very dangerous, especially in a flat cap era. So, what do you guys think the Blackhawks should do? Because I'm kind of torn. Do you trade Duncan Keith for Caleb Jones? You're going to get Caleb Jones anyway, right? You trade out Duncan Keith, you bring in Caleb Jones. You keep Adam Boqvist. You don't trade for... But again, maybe you don't get Seth Jones, okay? Let's just say they don't get Seth Jones. You keep Boqvist, but you still have that $5.5 million that you saved from moving out Duncan Keith. What if you're able to bring in a guy like Dougie Hamilton in free agency? And now you potentially pick up the assets you would from from Edmonton. Let's say they get a second and a third for Duncan Keith, right? Let's a second and a third, if it's even that, a second and a fourth, right? Doesn't matter. They pick up draft picks for Duncan Keith. And they're able to move out Duncan Keith. They still keep Adam Boqvist, and they get that cap, and they're able to bring in a guy like Dougie Hamilton. Or would you rather see them bring in the Seth brothers? Would you rather see them bring in the Jones brothers, but they also have to move on from Duncan Keith and Adam Boqvist? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Which one do you want to see the Blackhawks go with? And if you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more rumor videos just like this one, you guys know what to do. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.